Members, good morning. We have a quorum, so I call this meeting to order. As at the last meeting in the 2025 legislative sessions, we have examined 15 items with a total commitment of $76.8979 billion. There are two discussion papers for today's meeting. These are new funding proposals submitted by the administration, which involve a total of $252,100,000. If these two items are endorsed by members as well, then altogether the total approved projects will stand at 17 with a total commitment of $77.15 billion. Deducting the $27.3407 billion for land acquisition and computerization project, the total public works commitment will stand at $49.8093 billion. Members, if there are direct or indirect pecuniary interests in relation to items being discussed today, please disclose the nature of the interest before you speak according to Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure. Please also note the voting requirement when direct pecuniary interests are involved according to Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedure. Item 1. 870CL Site Formation and Infrastructure Works for Public Housing Development at Ngau Village, Wong, PWSC paper number 2025-26, number 5. This paper recommends the upgrading of 870CL to Category A at an estimated cost of 77.4 million MOD prices. The administration consulted the panel on development on the 23rd of April 2024. The panel supported the administration's submission of this item to the Public Works Subcommittee for consideration. The deliberation report was forwarded to members via email on the 19th of May 2025. We are joined by Permanent Secretary for Development, Ms. Doris Ho, Deputy Secretary for Development, Mr. Gary Poon, Project Manager, South Development Office, CEDD, Mr. Jackie Wu, Chief Engineer, South Development Office, CDD, Mr. Clarence Young, Mr. Tommy Chen, Chief Estate Surveyor, Lands Department, as well as Ms. Vivian Lai, District Planning Officer of Planning Department. Members, if you want to speak, please press the Request to Speak button now. I'll read from, they will speak in this order: Mr. Jesse Shang, Mr. Andrew Lam, Mr. Lam Chen Sing, Dr. Loy Kwok, Mr. Chen Siu Hong, and Dr. Edmund Yu. I'll give each member 4 minutes. We start with Mr. Jesse Shang. Thank you, Chair. I speak in support of this item, that is site formation and infrastructure works for public housing development at Ngau Village, Wong. I'd like to refer to paragraph 6 of the paper, and the latest estimated cost is around 27% lower than the estimate. So that means you managed to save costs by up to 25%. According to the explanation, 7 tenders bidded in the process, and the tender prices were also competitive. My question is this: has the same approach been applied to other government projects? Have you managed to invite more tenderers? Because recently 45 members have made a joint petition for the government to exercise better budgeting. The government should have the awareness as a landlord. So on this note, is it possible to invite more tenders to bid a number of projects so as to make sure that the prices remain competitive? Permanent Secretary, Ms. Ho. Thank you, member, for the question. But this is in fact not a standalone item in our tendering exercise. This Ngau 1 item is bundled with another item in Charcoal Lane, which is in the vicinity. Now, the Charcoal Lane project is smaller in scale comparing to this Ngau 1 village project. So we see this opportunity to bundle the two together. Quite a number of contractors expressed interest, as we mentioned in the paper, altogether 7 tenderers. The prices were also competitive, so the latest estimate is around 27% lower than the original estimate. According to the latest trend of construction prices, we have identified a downward trend. So this is something that we will bear in mind in future tendering exercises. Where suitable, we will bundle certain items together in tendering. All right, no follow-up. Next, Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Chair. I don't have a strong view on the dollar sign for this item. I understand that this project will span a long period because of the need for clearance, decanting, but I think, as mentioned in the previous meeting, the major concern from among members is that this project involves road improvement works. We have loading and unloading areas along Ngau 1 Road, and we should make sure that arrangements are put in place so that the residents will not be affected. So my question is this: can I get an undertaking from the government that these arrangements will be put in place? I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Wu, Director. Thank you for the question. Temporary traffic management measures will be put in place before works commence. And as mentioned in the paper, there are 2 traffic or road improvement works. First, in relation to the Hammer Hill Road roundabout, there will be an additional downhill lane. So as discussed at the panel on development, this is something that we will do in advance. Just within a year of funding approval, we will complete the road improvement works as mentioned. Next, Mr. Lam Chun Sing. This item was floated in the Policy Address 2019. The government would like to redevelop urban squatter areas, but it will take more than 10 years to complete the whole project. Of course, there should be communication with affected tenants and business operators. And as I understand, 600 tenants and some 30 operators will be affected. In fact, at the Special Finance Committee meetings, the government provided some figures. For the first phase of the project, the government had liaised with 260 households and business undertakings. So I'd like to have an update, because according to the previous paper, they are supposed to move out by the beginning of 2025. And according to your paper submitted to the Wong Tai Sin District Council, site formation for Phase 1 should be completed by 2026. So I'm concerned about the outstanding compensation and rehousing arrangements for households and business undertakings, because if this is not completed in time, Phase 2 of the project will be affected. My next question is this. It relates to historical and graded historic buildings nearby. Some buildings are not yet graded. In fact, earlier, a paper was submitted to the Antiquities Advisory Board. For these ungraded historic buildings, at least pictures should be taken, perhaps three-dimensional pictures as well, so that if possible an exhibition could be held in future. Now I want to know whether it's within your plan to showcase the relics. And how long does it take to complete the heritage impact assessment? Will it affect the progress of works, or would it entail a huge cost? P.S. I'll ask Mr. Wu to take the two questions, but I take the other one that is about site clearance. The progress, including rehousing arrangements for tenants and business undertakings. This project will be divided into two phases. 600 households and 30 business undertakings will be affected, like Mr. Lam Chen Sing said. For phase 1, 265 households and 10 business undertakings will be affected. The Lands Department has reached out to all these tenants and business undertakings. Among the 265 householders, in fact, all of them have gone through the means test. So for phase 1, we've completed the eligibility vetting. In fact, people are moving in to the new premises and they are moving out of the site. So there shouldn't be any problem with the progress for phase 1 and phase 2. What happens is the Lands Department will continue to process the eligibility of the second phase household tenants and business undertakings. I'll give the floor to Mr. Wu. I'd like to explain to members our work on heritage conservation. Man Fat Nunnery is rated a Grade 3 historic building. So it will be kept, and there will be a setback of not less than 10 meters around the nunnery. Before commencement of works, as mentioned by Mr. Lam, we will take pictures. We will have 3D scanning, and we'll also mount surveillance to make sure that there is no vibration that will cause any impact on the works. Now we've also had some relics without any grading that are of heritage value, such as certain ancient tiles, and we have decided to keep them for the purpose of future exhibition. As for the southern side of the site, before commencement of work, we will likewise conduct a heritage survey and will also compile records to make sure that no relics of heritage value will be will exist in the area. And we also have the St. Joseph care home for the elderly, as well as some special structures. Likewise, we'll conduct surveys to measure the relevant structures. Well, I think Ngau Chi carries a history of more than a century. It's also one of the 13 hangs in Kowloon. So I hope that the work as mentioned by the government will be completed, including the Man Fat Nunnery and other structures. Apart from conservation, revitalization, what is important is that you think ahead and make sure that the valuable properties will not be left vacant. Because we'd like to preserve the history of this village so as to attract visitors.
Next, Mr. Lo Wai Kok. Thank you, Chairman. I speak to support this public works project. That is the site formation and infrastructure works for the public housing development. Surely we all should support this. Meanwhile, I do have some questions regarding the cost reflected here. Perhaps it has shown some difficulties that the sector is experiencing, because in last April, when it consulted the panel for development, at that time the price was 100 million and 600,000 Hong Kong dollars. It is not a project of a large scope, but still there are 7 tenders and the price was competitive, as you said. And now the budget was just about 77.4 million Hong Kong dollars. It is 27% lower. Well, if the cost is so much lower than your estimation, is it showing us that there have been some cutthroat competition in the sector because of a lack of works? I am not expecting us to discuss it here, but perhaps you have a better understanding of the situation, and I would love to have some explanations from you. Well, according to the budget by the FS, the public works will be reducing from about 70 billion to 120 billion. But the amount of private works is rather limited because the government is not purchasing any land for commercial use, and the rolling out of residential land is also very limited. Well, because there have been limited development projects, a lot of the workers are suffering. Well, it is actually obvious across different sectors. We don't even have a lot of new businesses starting, therefore the amount of renovations is also low. Those who are doing private works have a lot of struggles. Even for those who are working for the public works, they also suffer. There are some offices that focus on architectural drawings, saying that they have to man-cut because every year there is supposed to be up to $300 billion of public works. So from this tendering process, do you see any phenomenon that worth our concerns? Well, because sometimes they worried about not being able to bid for the work, and second, even if they successfully receive the tender, they worry that they don't have enough manpower. Actually, manpower is also related to the cost. Others include the material cost, the standards, everything are now under review. This is a measure that worth supporting. I just hope that there will be some better policies to mitigate the difficulties that the sector is experiencing. Ms. Ho, thank you for your comment. The reasons why we have a lower tendering amount is because it is closely related to this particular project. As mentioned, this is not a single tender. As mentioned, we have bundled it with another project in Chok Wo Lane. It is a similar project with also site formation, but the scope in Chok Wo Lane is much larger, and that's why we have bundled them together. We believe that this is part of the reasons why this tender is more attractive to the contractor. So it is not just a project that worth 77 million Hong Kong dollars. So it seems to be attractive, and because of that, more of them have submitted tender. And because of that, there is room for lowering of price. Having said that, as our colleagues reviewed the tender, they also ensure that this price is not unreasonably low comparing with the market price, because we need to ensure the quality as well. Therefore, I believe that this situation is rather unique. Next, Mr. Chen Su-hong. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the site formation and infrastructure works for public housing development in Auchi One Village, Wong Tai Sin, I would like to first compliment the Development Bureau because they have put a lot of effort into it. When they invite tender, they have put in place different measures to lower the cost, including what PS has mentioned. They are inviting tenders in bundles, so with economies of scale, hopefully the unit cost would be lowered. Thus, comparing to the estimate of the government original cost, it is now 27% lower. Since the estimated cost is now 27% lower, according to your list, there are site formation works and road improvement works. After the returned tender, so here are two major works, site formation works and road improvement works, costing 32.3 million and 18.5 million respectively. Can you give us the details in which areas the cost is lowered, because it can serve as future reference? Second, in Annex 4, I also would like to compliment the administration because it has listed out similar works for comparison. Although they are of similarity, but there can be huge discrepancies because of the environment, etc. And in Enclosure 4, it has listed out different similar projects showing the unique circumstances and the nature of the works here. Comparing to the three similar projects, well, by excluding the uniqueness of each project, when we look at the process, the cost is around 13.5 million Hong Kong dollars. Well, especially the one in Choi Shun Street, Shengshui. That is site formation and infrastructure works for the public housing development and Choi Shun Street. It can be compared because one of the key reasons is whether or not site formations work is required. That is, how is the terrain of that particular work. So the biggest discrepancies is up to 9 million Hong Kong dollars. I don't see much excavations work is needed. Well, I don't see why is it so different from the project in Shengshui, because there has been a difference of 9 million per hectare. Can you explain for all these differences? Last questions. I'm concerned about the timeline. This is a rather small scope of project. And the challenge is, in phase 1 and 2, because they need to take care of the land decontamination work, etc. And for the second phase, you also need to take care of the heritage implications. In your tender paper, you have put in a new item, and that is if the constructors can speed up the process of these constructions, you will give them additional score. I would like to know if there is any contractors offering different suggestions so that you are able to shorten the timeline as much as possible. Ms. Ho, please be brief. There were 3 questions. 2 questions involved construction costs, and the third question is about the construction time. I would like to defer it to Mr. Wu. Well, we concerns about the timeline as well. We understand that the project is not complicated, but the site is rather unique because there needs to be some land decontamination works because of the existing industries here, and there needs to be some research on the heritage as well, but we will try to shorten the period of time as much as we can. In terms of the contract, I would allow Mr. Wu to explain about any suggestions made by the contractor in the agreement. Mr. Wu? I want to explain a little bit about the project in Choishan Street, Shengshui. The major difference is we need to excavate certain squatters' units. Before clearance, we also need to do some surveying and clearance work. This is the major difference. Chairman, I would like to add a few words. By decontamination, did you include it in the construction cost? I don't think so. It seems to be a separate item. I don't think that's the reason. Please allow Mr. Wu to finish. Well, because you have spoken quite lengthily. Well, apart from decontamination, we also need to conduct some land decontamination works. It has been included in one of the minor items here. And during site formation, we have decontaminate the land. As I said, in the returned tender price, there are some differences in the price, but I don't have the small items breakdown. But I think the differences should be around 20% on average. There is a decrease of about 20% for each item. So it applies for site formation and road improvement, right? Yes. As for the timeline, as mentioned by Ms. Ho, the tender process is being bundled. We have bundled Ngau Chi-Wan and Chao Kuo Ling project together. The scope of Chao Kuo Ling project is much larger. It is a proportion of 10-1. As we invite tender, we have put in certain conditions. For instance, we will score you higher technically if you can provide us suggestions about shortening the construction period. We did receive different suggestions, but most of the suggestions were focusing on the Chao Kuo Ling project. Well, actually, the technical score is not taking up a huge proportion. And the scope of work of the Ngau Chi-Wan is rather small, so we did not give them any additional points there. Anyhow, we will try to shorten the construction period as much as we can. Thank you, Chair. Members, since Mr. Low was very concerned about the construction sector, and as Mr. Low said, the Financial Secretary said that in the coming 1 to 2 years, we will try to increase the amount of public works in order to mitigate the pressure that the sector has. We have been discussing on this item for around 30 minutes. If there are other members' concerns about this project in this building, I believe that we have allowed for sufficient time to show their intent to speak. Therefore, after the time of Mr. Lau Kwok-fen, I would stop allowing for new members to show the intent to speak. So if there is any members in the building who would like to speak on this project, please come into the meeting room as soon as possible. Next, Mr. Ngan Men Yu. I speak to support this project. I just have a number of questions. First, 3B, that is the Hammer Hill Road roundabout and the road improvement work nearby Long Chi Path. And in paragraph 5, you also mentioned that the work will be completed by 2033. If you're familiar with Kowloon East District, on one side of this site, you will see the resettlement of the Choi Hong Chun Estate 2028, and also the Choi Hong Dong bus terminus that is about to complete it by 2033. Are there any connections? There have been a lot of traffic congestions as the Choi Hong roundabout. Since we have this new project here, how can we improve or the traffic in that particular area in an integrated manner.
My third question is about paragraph 8, about reserving 5% of the total GFA for the provision of social welfare facilities in the Hong Kong Breast Cancer Foundation Breast Health Center. Is that center within the 5% to be reserved or not? Now this breast health center is situated in the corner. Why is it not excluded? Why do you say that it will be kept? And also about the section of pavement between Choi Hung MTR station and the site. According to your map, it seems that this section will be closed. Now, what would be the arrangement? Because if you want to reach the Hammer Hill Road swimming pool, this is the only access for pedestrians. P.S. About Hammer Hill Road roundabout, road improvement works, and also the pedestrian pathway to the swimming pool. I will let Mr. Wu answer these two questions. Now, I just want to explain about the correlations between this project and the redevelopment of Choi Hung Estate. This redevelopment project will take place later. As I understand, the Housing Department will first conduct a traffic impact assessment on redeveloping Choi Hung Estate. In this assessment, a rather comprehensive road improvement proposal will be put in place to ease the congestion around the Choi Hung Estate roundabout. So that roundabout will be dealt with under the redevelopment project. Now, the member also asked about the breast health center. Why is it not included in the scope of this development? Now, this is because the breast health center doesn't have a long history here. If my memory serves me right, it has been there only for a few years and is funded by the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Having considered the history and the fact that it is a rather new facility, it doesn't need to be demolished in a short period of time, we've decided to keep it. This center is in fact quite popular. Users perhaps would like to visit the same clinic again for the services. That's why it's kept. Mr. Wu will explain about the road improvement projects. First, about this Hammer Hill Road roundabout road improvement works. From Po Kong Chun Road traveling downhill at the Hammer Hill roundabout, would like to provide an additional lane so that it comes in the form of a bypass. Traffic will no longer need to use that roundabout. And while works are in progress, the pavement will not be closed in full. So pedestrian access to the swimming pool is still possible. About the Choi Hung public transport interchange, our traffic impact assessment also refers to the traffic situation in Long Chang Road as well as the Clearwater Bay Road traffic junction. At the moment, many minibuses tend to park there. Our proposal is to provide a lay-by at the area mentioned so that minibuses can stop at the lay-by and that the slow lane can be free of traffic jam. But of course, like the Permanent Secretary said, we need a holistic plan to address all these issues. Anything to add, PS? Right, I've forgotten to answer this question. About 5% of the GFA set aside for social welfare facilities. The member has a correct understanding. The 5% does not include the breast health center. The 5% reserved will be used for RCHEs and daycare center for the elderly as well as other elderly facilities. There will also be childcare facilities and family service center. Next, Mr. Edward Lau. Thank you, Chairman. I support this project. I think the government has, by and large, completed its efforts in rehousing affected tenants. I just want to make sure that the government will put people first and that the arrangements will be flexible. That's my experience in handling previous cases in new development areas. There should be flexibility as much as possible. As I understand, in the second half of this year, the business undertakings will gradually move out. Some business undertakings will move out close to nearer to the end of the year. We have shops near Longxi Park. They've been serving residents for many years. And I think it's common knowledge that around the end of the year, because of public holidays and other reasons, work may come to a halt. And there is a request from the local community for business undertakings there to continue with their business and serve residents in the local community until after the Chinese New Year, so that they can fulfill the mission. So for shops near Longxi Path, without compromising works progress, is it possible for them to go on for a bit further until after Chinese New Year before they're asked to move out? P.S. Thank you for relaying the views of the affected to us. We'll go back and consider the situation. There are shops near Longxi Path, and we'll consider their exact locations and whether they encroach on the part of the site where works are to be commenced, and then we'll consider whether to take on board your suggestion and start clearance later for them. Mr. Ngau. Chairman, I support this project, but I'd like to follow up on a number of points. These are questions for Permanent Secretary. Now, in fact, Dr. Ngau, you just referred to the smart and green mass transport system for Kowloon East. You didn't answer that question. As I understand, this system will serve the vicinity, including Wong Tai Sin and Shiwanshan and Chuk Yun. Now, this location is rather difficult because it's right next to a sports ground. If you could make good use of the space, you can adjust the alignment so that this system will also travel up to Hammer Hill Road and then all the way to Shiwanshan and Chuk Yun. So I don't believe you, even if you say that site has been reserved at this moment, because this is a major public housing development. The alignment is simply impossible. It is not possible to have the system built above main roads as well, because traffic is already quite heavy there. So please consider this detail. The other question is about transport and traffic in general. Traffic is already heavy enough along Clearwater Bay Road. I'm happy to learn that there are road improvement works at Hammer Hill Road roundabout. Now, for the Choi Hung Estate redevelopment, there should be road improvement projects as well, from the Choi Hung Estate roundabout all the way to Long Chung Road. I think that you should consider matters as a whole. The last question may not concern you. It has to do with the Housing Bureau. Now that they've decided to redevelop Choi Hung Estate, no further discussion is allowed, and that residents will move to Dong Hui Estate. What about Phase 2? Is it possible for rehousing to be arranged so that Choi Hong Estate will be redeveloped in less than 20 years, and that upon completion of this project in 10 years, you can vacate the site for other major works. Right, I'll give the floor to Mr. Wu to explain the road improvement works concerning the traffic up Clearwater Bay Road. About the green and smart mass transport system for Kowloon East, this is under the portfolio of the Transport and Logistics Bureau. And I understand that there are diverse views. Some members have mentioned the Choi Hong East station. The member just asked whether it is possible to allow more stations along the route, and whether this relates to the site. We'll go back and relay this view to the Transport and Logistics Bureau. As for the third question, I hope I've understood it right. I think it has to do with whether starting from Phase 2, residents could be rehoused to the dedicated rehousing estates. Now, the dedicated rehousing estate, or DRE, is built to accommodate the needs of residents affected by rehousing projects or the URA projects. So, of course, we must serve these affected residents first. Is it possible to help rehouse affected tenants of Choi Hong Estate in the future? Well, we have yet to hear from the Housing Bureau, but of course we'll be happy to keep this in view and see if it's possible for us to provide some assistance. Mr. Wu, we have another project to ease the traffic jam at the road junction between Longchang Road and Clearwater Bay Road. At present, the slow lane is frequently occupied by minibuses. In order to serve their purpose, we have, however, reserved a spot for a lay-by to be built. Minibuses can stop there without taking up the slow lane. And we believe that this lay-by will help improve traffic condition at the junction. Mr. Kwok Wai Kang, I have two questions in relation to these developments. There will be an additional population of about 7,000 after completion of the project. For the former St. Joseph's Home for the Aged nearby, as I understand, the government has approved the development of a 5-block commercial cum residential development comprising 54 floors. So this development will attract additional population as well. I think the major concern among members is whether you have sufficient road capacity. Have you included this in the traffic impact assessment? My next question is that according to the paper, Manfred Nunnery is rated a Grade 3 historic building, and it's proposed that a setback of not less than 10 meters will be provided around the Manfred Nunnery. Now, we're concerned about the revitalization of historic buildings. Is there a plan? Is there a timetable? And how do you make sure that the new design of the development will blend in with the Manfred Nunnery? There is also the public open space marked pink in the map. But there is a refuse collection point at the back of the pink strip of land. How do you make sure that this environment is pleasant? P.S. I will ask Mr. Wu to take the first question about the TIA relating to this development as well as another private development nearby. The next question is about the Man-Fat Nunnery, a Grade 3 historic building. The Housing Society is responsible for the design of the revitalized Man-Fat Nunnery. They keep all options open. They welcome views. Chair and Deputy Chair and other members just now mentioned, keeping and putting to optimal use the history of Ngau village. This should be combined with the conservation of Man-Fat Nunnery, and that more facilities should be included. We will relay this view to the Housing Society. The next question is about the interaction between Man-Fat Nunnery and the public open space nearby, and that an integrated design can be adopted. Well, this is a very good suggestion. We'll take it back and discuss with the Housing Society.
Hi.
Mr. Wu, during the planning process, we have conducted full traffic impact assessment. We have looked into all the nearby roads. Because of this project, we discovered that at the interchange of Hammerhill Road and Fung Tak Road, if there is no improvement works, then during the morning peak hours, traffic will overload. After the road improvement works in place, it will be taken care of in the future. We expect it to meet the standard. Another one is the interchange of Longchuan and Clearwater Bay Road. It was overloaded in both morning and the evening. After moving the minibus station, then in the afternoon during the peak hours, we are able to meet the standards, but it will still be quite overloading in the morning. We need to put in place other measures. Mr. Kwok also asked about the public open space and the refuse collection point. Perhaps you can reflect this comment to HA in order to have better coordination. All members have asked questions, and now I would like to put this paper to vote. Those who support PWSC bracket 2025-26 document 5, please put up your hand. Those who vote against, please put up your hand. There's none. I believe that the majority of the members who vote have endorsed this suggestion and has been endorsed. Now I put to vote to see if members believe that the FC should continue to discuss this item. According to the procedures of the Public Works Subcommittee, paragraph 41A, I now put this to vote. Well, this subcommittee suggests the FC to further discuss the items in TWSC 2025-26 document 5. If this item is endorsed, it shows that we recommend the FC to further discuss this document. If it is being ruled out, that means we do not recommend FC to further discuss this document. Members who support this, please show your hand. Members who vote against this, please put up your hand. I believe that the majority of members who vote has voted against this item, so it has been vetoed. The subcommittee do not recommend the Financial Committee to further discuss PWSC bracket 2025-26 document number 5. This is the end of the discussion for this item. Thank you for the administration. Now we will move on to the next agenda item. Let's invite the administration into the meeting room. Agenda item number 2, 28RE, Reprovisioning of Pok Fu Lam Public Library into Pok Fu Lam South Public Housing Developments. The documents is in PWSC bracket 2025-26, document number 6. We are suggesting to upgrade of 78RE to category A at an estimated cost of 174.7 million MOG prices. On the 10th of February 2025, the administration have consulted Home Affairs and Culture panel, and the panel has agreed to submit this for this subcommittee. The key discussion point has already been emailed to members on the 19th of May 2025. The list of the administration in attendance has already been emailed to you, and I will not go into the details. We welcome you. Members who would like to speak has already pressed the button, including Chen Hockfong, Lee Chen Kang, Andrea Lam, Chen Pui Long, Shanghai Long, Lau Chi Pan, Chen Xiu Hong, Doreen Kong, Lillian Kwok, Lam Chen Xing, Benson Luk, and Kwok Wai Kong. 4 minutes, question and answers included. Mr. Chen Hockfong. Thank you, Chairman. I speak to support to this project because it is actually a resettlement project, and there are some figures that I would like to clarify. Well, I see that there are some construction costs that are being covered by HS, so I just want to make sure that the numbers has matched. I want to see, excluding parts that was covered by HS, what is the actual expenditure of this project? This is my first question. Second, well, if you ask me, we have fewer and fewer readers nowadays, and I expect an increase of people who read electronic books. Do we have any rooms to include spaces for people to enjoy electronic books? For example, the provision of a tablet. And how is the library now being managed? Has it gone more electronic? Well, this community library in Wafu has been built early in the years. Well, there are a lot of historic materials during the period of redevelopment of Wafu Estate. In the design of this library, can we include some special features of the history of Wafu Estate? And also, there has been Wafu, Waseng, Wachek. There has been a lot of establishments for the celebration of the Chinese Ghost Festival. It has also been included in the non-tangible cultural heritage. Can it be included? Well, because the redevelopment project has been scattered, it will be rather difficult for the residents to make use of the community services. Have you planned for measures to make it more convenient for the residents to use? Let's say additional road signs showing the way to the library. Mr. Lau? Thank you, Chairman. And the question of Mr. Chen would take the first and the fourth question about e-books and the incorporation of the history of Wafu Estate in the design of the library. I would like to defer it to LCSD. You have understood it correctly. A large proportion of this project is actually undertaken by the housing society. That's why we need to pay for the HAs. It is around 83 million Hong Kong dollars. And it shows the area that we have undertaken. Regarding the road signs in the future, we can discuss it with the community, HA, as well as the district councils. We will make sure that we have arranged the road signs so that it will be more accessible for the residents in the future. We are glad to communicate further. How about the designs? I would like to defer it to our colleagues from LCSD. Let me first speak about e-books. As you understand, e-books is very convenient and popular among people. In the previous years, libraries has continued to increase e-books. From 2019, we have around 330,000, and now it is now 550,000, and 48 of them can be directly accessed from home computers. As for the design of the library, we did try to incorporate such features, and we will consider your opinion. Well, since it is still at early stage, but in different libraries, we have tried to incorporate the features of different districts into it. I don't see why we can't do it. Next, Mr. Lee Chen-kang. Thank you, Chairman. A library is a necessity because it is somewhere the residents can spend time and to increase their knowledge. This is a one-story library because I'm looking at the cross-section map. So for the self-study room and the library areas, can you tell us more about the areas for each? If we have constant pedestrian flows in and out of the study room, will it cause nuisance to the library users? Is it also accessible to the physically challenged people? You are asking for about 174.7 million, and you said that around 80 million is for HA. But I see that it is only taking one story, and it is just about 1,200 square meters. So for per square meter, it's about 70,000 per square meter. Well, because it is only an area of 12,000, why would it take 52 million for renovations? Why is it so expensive? Because it is up to 43,400 per square meters. Well, apart from the air conditioning, I think mostly you are only installing bookshelves. Why is it so expensive, Chairman? I would like to defer question 1 and 2 to LCSD. As for the construction cost, I would like to defer it to Architectural Services Department and Lands Development. Well, we have 72 seats for the library, and in the future, we expect that there will be an addition of 31,000 population. Therefore, we want to expand the study room to accommodate up to 100 people. In our design, we will take this into consideration so that those going in and out of the study room will not cause nuisance to library users. As for the accessibility requirements, it is actually a standard requirement. All the newly designed libraries have fulfilled such requirements. ASD. Thank you, Chairman. I can speak about the calculations of areas. As mentioned, it is up to 1,200 square meters, and it is talking about the operational area. But in our design of site, we will talk about the construction floor area. As stated in paragraph 14, the construction floor area is 2,789 meters square. There is also the construction unit cost here. So it has included the building surfaces as well as the construction works. We have included both together. So this is $35,050 per unit. If we compare it to the similar unit, for other items that are being discussed in public works, including the leaking road, library, and the elder home. Actually, it has been included in enclosure 8. Well, because the we have bare shell project for the residential care home for the elderly. If we adjusted it according to the renovations level that we have, actually the construction cost is similar to that particular project.
Chairman, I'm talking about two different things. 2,789 square meters of CFA. Now, if the GFA is just 1,200, then that's just some 43% of space available. That's outrageous. And then $52.1 million for renovation of some 1,200 square meters. Then is it really necessary? Because you just be installing bookshelves or just some desks and chairs for the student study room. Is it really necessary? A supplement, please. The difference is the net floor area. Now we need to consider the space for corridors, E&M facilities, washrooms, etc. Taking all these facilities away, the net floor area is what we need to consider, and this is the area that we use in the calculation. What about the cost of decoration? Now in paragraph 13, we have stated the amount at the $52.1 million. That's for internal fitting out works. For the third phase project later on, there will be a third contract for the internal fitting out works, adopting 2,789 square meters of construction floor area as the base. The unit cost should be less than $20,000 per meter. Well, I don't think this is how the math works out, because we're talking about 15,000 square feet of public space. I don't think this is reasonable. Basically, no fitting out is required for, say, the corridors and passageways. At most, there'll be tiling or painting work. I strongly suspect this figure. Please go back and redo the math. Can you supplement exactly what the cost entails? Because you talked about the construction floor area, the usable floor area, deducting passageways, toilets, plant rooms. Can you give us the breakdown for the benefit of members so that we all know better how you've come by these figures? Please supplement the information after the meeting. Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Chairman. This question has been asked by two other members already. In fact, for the public housing development project, approval was given in 2019, and strictly speaking, in the second half of this year, the works will almost come to an end, and then there'll be population intake. There seems to be a long wait before the library is proposed to be reprovisioned. Now let me ask a question on costs. I understand for the some $80 million, the cost will be shared. So be it CFA, NFA, or GFA, I'd like to pick up on the last question. What is the criterion of apportioning costs? Is it based on CFA or NFA or whatever? The second question is this. We're talking about a bare shell construction, but I see from the breakdown you have a figure for foundation. Now if there is the apportioning of costs, then why is the item foundation included here? So that's for the second question. Third question. What is the standard for handing over the site to either the CSTB or the housing department? what kind of fitting out works will be required? I'll give the floor to the ASD and the Housing Department. Right, Housing Department? Yes, we'll take the member's question. The first question is about the apportionment of the cost of $80 million. Let me clarify that this library will be reprovisioned to one of the estates for accommodating residents affected by the Wafu estate, that is Kai Long Wan North estate, one of the 5 reception estates. Now works have yet to commence. We're in the process of tendering. In fact, we haven't actually completed the final design. So about the apportionment of costs in relation to this reprovisioning of the library and Kai Long Wan North Public Housing Project, it's based on construction floor area, CFA. The library only takes up a very small part of the whole development of Kai Long Wan North. So that will arrive at a very small sum for the library. As for the bare shell construction, we will complete the basic bare shell construction. There should be proper inspection. There should be an occupation permit issued, and that's one standard. There will also be some basic infrastructure provisions such as the car park. And that's about the standard of handing over the facility to the other departments. As for the ASD's internal fitting out works, we'll go by the usual market standards. A point of clarification, yes, please do that very briefly, Mr. Lam. Say for NFA is 1,200, CFA 2789 square meters, and yet for cost apportionment is based on GFA? No, CFA, right, construction floor area. That's to be divided by 2,789 square meters. Another question on cost apportionment. Foundation works. Does it come under the cost apportionment arrangement as well? $2.3 million. Right. No need for additional foundation works. Correct. So you'll hand over the bare shell construction to the department. Internal fitting out is also subject to cost apportionment. Is that right? That means some $40 million of building services will be subject to cost apportionment as well. True. Right. I would like the administration to provide a breakdown of these figures. Yes, please do so in writing after the meeting. I think this is the members' concern. They are concerned about how you arrive at these figures. Perhaps you should explain matters such as the CFA, NFA, and GFA. Under Secretary. Well, I think it has to do with the type of projects we're talking about. I think we can provide the breakdown of figures relating to the cost apportion to be apportioned to the Housing Authority and that to the ASD. Right, and tell us on what basis you arrive at the sums as well. Mr. Chan Pui Leung. Thank you, Chairman. Because of technological advancements, many people now adopt a different reading habit. They tend to read electronic books and news. I understand that the size of the library is double that the original. My first question is about the utilization rate for Pak Fu Lam Library in the past few years, because the size will be doubled for the new library. can you tell us, in terms of the facilities and layout of the library, how will they be different from the original setting? And I also read that you will deploy technology to save manpower and cost. By how much, can you tell us? And what technology? Is it AI or AR, so as to enrich library users' experience? Mr. Ngau, well, I'll give the floor to Mr. Luk. The Pok Fu Lam Library was commissioned in 1970. It's been 50 years. In 2023-24, the annual attendance reached 70,000 a day, and in 2024, some 100,000. And annual borrowings also increased to some 120,000. So there are still many library users. We want to expand the library by 100% because we have new services and facilities, and basically we're short of space. Now for this Wafu redevelopment project, that will bring in 31,000 additional population. So we need to serve more users. And apart from the new facilities, we also have, say, a parent-child reading zone to serve different users. Now the Pok Fu Lam Library at the moment is quite small. We've heard a request from the District Council that the library should also be able to accommodate some thematic exhibitions, such as the one to promote Chinese culture, and this will be possible in the new library. We all go digital nowadays, and this new library will have 16 terminals instead of just 4 at the moment. The other point is about self-service facilities. After the library is closed, and we want to allow members of the public to be able to return books via book drops, as well as borrow books through the smart system. So we are leveraging on technology, and we are also reviewing manpower arrangements. Next, Mr. Jesse Chan. Chairman, I speak in support of the reprovisioning of Pok Fu Lam Public Library in the Pok Fu Lam South Public Housing Development. I think it is important to promote reading among the public. The library will be equipped with a study room and also reading areas. It will also provide electronic services. So I support that. But I want to talk about the seamless transition, as you put it in the paper. That is, before the commissioning of the new library, you should make sure that the old library will continue to provide service. Now, I'm also concerned about construction cost. As I understand, the administration has yet to provide detailed figures. And that the administration has also provided a comparison with the other project in 2019. But that project includes an elderly home. Now, I've read carefully the details in Enclosure 8, but the information is quite straightforward. There's an addition of some $5,000 because of the difference in internal fitting out works. So I think you need to differentiate between library works and also works for the care home, for the residential care home for the elderly, to give us an apple-to-apple comparison. Because according to the administration, since 2019, works have yet to commence. So I think supplementary information should be provided before the matter is submitted to the FC. If possible, please provide the another item so that we can compare the three. Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Shang, for your support. We try to find recent projects that are more comparable. And unfortunately, like Mr. Shang said, the last occasion where we saw a library project is one set out in enclosure 8. There are other previous projects, only that a different standard is adopted. So there's no meaningful comparison. In fact, each project is different in terms of its content and the level of complexity. We strive to give more examples for comparison, only that the details and the content are never the same. I don't think we can find other comparable examples, but anyway, we'll go back and give it a thought.
Mr. Shang, I understand what you meant. Well, because we don't have that many libraries in Hong Kong, so there wasn't many previous cases. Therefore, this popular library will become a very significant future reference. Therefore, I hope that related government departments can provide us with some more precise justifications. As promised by the Secretary, they will look into it. Well, I think conceptually we can accept this comparison. However, members of this subcommittee will be concerned about the apple-to-apple comparisons. We understand that there is time lapse, but it will be different in concepts because it's just a lump sum. I hope that you can provide us with some more detailed information for members' reference. Next, Mr. Lau Chi-Pang. Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to speak and support the administration in its duty. When I look for the justification from paragraph 6 to paragraph 11, there have been a total of 6 paragraphs. I can't really find the justifications. You are just giving us a description. It describes us about the history because in 1970 you have built a library and it will be gone right now, therefore we have to build another one. It seems to be reasonable. Well, but this is how history it is. Every day is different. The context in 1970 was that among the population, people have a lot of different educational background. But now we are talking about 5 decades later. We are actually not talking about today. It is a projections of a future. Well, in 1970, we have put a mark here. So this is how we use our library back then. And 50 odd years later, we are going to the same location and try to do it according to the old mark or old benchmark. When I look at your documents, I want to find justifications, but I fail to find it. I really agree with what my colleagues have shared. I am not from the construction sector, but if I look at the figures, I understand that this quote-unquote shell is so expensive. And it is not an issue in itself because the shell of the car from Rolls-Royce is also very expensive. It really depends what you put inside that shell. What I'm going to do today is to make it worthwhile. Let's say Mr. Chen Hofeng has mentioned about the history of Wafu Estate. Well, actually, it is not just the history of Wafu Estate per se. You can date it back till the colonization period because when they came here, they saw the waterfall and they find it's a very positive water source. Because later on, they had built a cemetery and also a timber workshop, and then the establishment of Wafu Estate. This library is a very vast area. Can it serve such functions? That is, it is not just a display of history. I believe that the Undersecretary understands we are talking about culture, sports, and tourism. Culture and tourism are intertwined. Can we include a cultural tourism resources here? Well, the district council even proposed to include some Chinese culture here. I don't think it is wise. We should not talk about Chinese culture everywhere because it is such a broad scope. But if you are talking about the surrounding history in this location, then the information will be something that people can see it from themselves as they step out of the library. Just now, Mr. Chen have asked a similar question. Have you considered the following? Because the reading habits have changed, we also see advancement in technology development. Will we make use of IT, AI to complement people's reading? This is a rather huge issue, so I have to make sure that my points are made. Please be brief. Well, if you say that the residents that don't know how to make use of that, then my question is, can you provide for facilities so they know how to make use of that? You have given us 6 paragraphs of justifications. Because when we build a library, we will always ask about the reading habits. You are telling me about the boring figures. Is it just an increase of number of readers or increase of the boring times? Well, is it just an increase of head counts? Can we get to the bottom of it just by looking at the boring numbers? And the Secretary. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the comments from Mr. Lau. We value your comments. In the future, we will try to incorporate your suggestions in the development of this library. And we are not just sticking to history. As mentioned by Mr. Lee, although it has been beautiful for 50 years old, but there have been some evolvement. Actually, we are limited in space at this moment. If we want to include some self-help, borrowing and returning cabinets, we don't have enough space for that, and it will affect the usage of the library after opening hours. And we also want to include some exhibition areas as well as pad reading spaces. So these are all facilities we have included according to the evolvement of times. We trust that the functions of the libraries nowadays are different. We are not just focusing on the collection of the library. Instead, we want to provide more room for activities so that the families and other residents can come and make use of that. We want to create it as a meeting point of the community. Regarding the history of Waffle Estate, surely we will look into this together with Professor, so that in the future design we will try to incorporate such elements. As for IT and AI, we will also try our best to maximize it. We have also set aside funds to include these kind of facilities. As for the reader's habits, perhaps we can supplement it with further information in the future so that you have a better understanding about how this library is being used. Next, Mr. Chen Shu-hong. Thank you, Chair. Okay. Housing Department. I'm very thankful for Professor Lau. Well, since you have a very good understanding about the history of Waffle Estate, including the waterfalls as well as the farm of dairy. So when we are looking at the fitting out as well as the external designs, we will try to include the history of Waffle Estate, for instance, the provisions of dairy farm. We will also create a route showing the history of Waffle Estate from the mountains to the sea. Since we call it a meeting point of the community, therefore it is not a single out building. It is actually integrated with other community facilities. We can allow for a second round of questions because you have taken up 7 minutes plus already. Mr. Chen So-hong. Thank you, Chairman. The reprovisioning of Pokfu Land Public Library. As I see, this new library will be located within the public housing development. So it is different from the Lake King Road Library because that is a standalone building. Therefore, the construction cost needs to be split between ourselves as well as the housing department. We are very much concerned about the principle. Is this reasonable? Just now, Chairman have instructed you to provide the breakdown of the figures. Well, maybe the construction cost, the building facilities, what are the standards before you complete it, and what are being taken up by other government departments. I think these are all areas that needs to be further clarified. Regarding the comparison with the Lake King Road project, I can see that in enclosure 8 you have listed out the comparisons of the two projects, but it is not apple for apple. Because Lake King Road is not built upon the foundation of the public housing estate, and it is rather difficult for you to compare. Well, you have talked about the 5,600 per square meter. You said that it is only providing a residential care home for elderly without internal fitting out works, and it is very confusing to me. I hope that in the breakdowns that you provide further, we would hope to find answers to this question. I have another question concerning the construction cost. Just now, we have endorsed another project on site formation. We see that there are many competent contractors who are interested in bidding for the public works tender. The returned tender is 27% lower than the estimated cost, and we compliment government's effort. For this project, when I listen to your previous responses, well, correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't invited tender for this project. You want to wait until FC has approved it. Is that the case? Or you have already invited tender and the price that you are showing here is adjusted according to the returned tender. And did I understand it correctly? If you haven't invited tender, then should we expect a reduction of 20 to 30%? Would it be further divided between departments? I think you need to respond to that. Otherwise, we need to further discuss it at FC. Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your question, Mr. Chen. Well, I think we have invited tender for one project of HA regarding the foundational work. As for the building project, we haven't started tender invitation yet. For the foundation work, the returned tender is lower than our estimates. We have adjusted our estimate capital cost accordingly. Therefore, the latest capital cost we provided here has been reduced by 10% if you compare it with our previous proposal at the panel. And we also expect that the remaining tender will also be adjusted. Therefore, the latest capital cost is reduced by 10%. I want to see if Housing Department or ASD has any to supplement. No, ASD? Mr. Yu, not at this moment. I have one follow-up question. Well, because this project is split, the foundation and the building itself are being splitted. Have you considered to bundle it together? Will it giving you better economies of circles and provide you with better synergies? Chairman, let me clarify. The part that has been tendered already is foundation. As for the building and the remaining development has not invited tender yet. Maybe HD can further clarify.
Okay.
Yes, Lord. Chairman, members. The usual practice is for the housing authority to divide the works in this way. There's a separate project for foundation, and there is also another project for superstructure and internal fittings. So these two projects will be subject to different tendering exercises. For Kai Long Wan North, we're waiting for funding approval for tender for foundation works to be awarded. As for superstructure, that's another separate tender. Right, I think my question has been answered. All right, you have a tender invitation for foundation, and then for the library and also the bare shell of the building, that's part of the superstructure, and then this will be subject to another exercise. And you have mentioned that you expect the return tender price to be lower than the original estimate, and perhaps by then you can then apportion costs according to the CFA. Costs will be apportioned according to the CFA. In fact, in response to the return tender price, we've revised the cost estimates. So that represents a 10% drop, about $19 million. The estimates we present today is about 10% lower than the ones we presented to the panel about 2 or 3 months ago, down to 19 million. So what happens if the return tender prices are even lower? Will there be further revisions needed? That means there may be outstanding unused balance, and this will go back to the Capital Works Reservation Fund. Next, Mr. Ngau. Chairman. According to the paper, works will be completed only 5 years down the road. That's in 2030. I don't see any future-proof design for the library. Chairman, I'm not familiar with the construction side of things, but I am quite familiar with libraries. I visit libraries around the world. Now that I've read the paper and I've looked at the drawings, I still don't see anything in the paper that tells us about your future-proof design. Under Secretary, you explained about the various facilities in existing libraries. Can you take this opportunity to explain to us the following? Are there any state-of-the-art design and technology in the new library, especially since we have a different demographic mix and technological advancements? Can you tell us what design you will adopt for this library? Now, the library is not just a community facility, it's about our culture. So what is your thinking behind this library, apart from it being a district facility? How will you make this library attractive? Under Secretary, Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Kong. Perhaps I'll give the floor to the Director of LCS to supplement later. I'll just say that Ms. Kong has mentioned correctly that the construction of the library won't be completed in 5 years because we need to complete foundation works first, and we'll make use of the interim to provide details about the functions of the library, including self-service machines, a study room, exhibition space. These are what a normal library should have. And also the parent-child reading zone. As for technology, it may be too early to say exactly what technology we should deploy because of its rapid development now, and that the library won't be completed in a number of years. There may be new technologies emerging. So we consider primarily the functions of the library. As for exactly what should be procured, I think we still have time. We will engage the community and find out how the library can serve as a cozy gathering point that can promote the culture of reading, including the parent-child reading zone. LCSD? Yes, I fully agree with the Undersecretary that we still have time to think about the design, and in fact, this building will accommodate not just the library but other facilities as well. So we will discuss with the Housing Department as to how we can showcase the characteristics of the Southern District. For people visiting Wildfood Estates, they'd like to visit the local icons and check out the library. Ms. Kong made a point about the design and features of this library as well as the views of the community. Can you tell us about the role you play? Because this project involves a number of departments. Apart from cost apportionment, members are also concerned about design features. Ms. Kong just now explained that in many places the library doesn't just serve as a place for borrowing books. The library may also showcase the characteristics or culture of that place. Ms. Leung, anything to add? Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Member, for the point. If we take a look at enclosure 5, you will find this drawing. This is just a preliminary sectional view or the artist's impression. Now this is something as a result of local community engagement. We've also talked to scholars. As you can see, there is a public open space below the library. Is an outdoor flight of stairs, because as discussed with younger local residents and students, apart from the student study room, they'd like to have an open space available. So this will come under part of the library. We have an open staircase, and for the first time next to the library, a refreshment kiosk will be set up, because this is also the wish expressed by local residents and the younger library users. In fact, the matter has been reported in the news. This will be connected to the Kailong 1 North block. It's it is the largest among the 5 reception estates. There will also be youth community facilities and also a market, a bus terminus. So the library will become a very important gathering point, and will encourage the local residents to gather here. We hope that this will become a place that local community is fond of. Ms. Lillian Kwok, well, first of all, I need to give my support to this project because the old library will be demolished and it will be reprovisioned here. I'd like to pick up on the design of library. In Hong Kong, we have Ping Shan, Teo King Ling, and Yuen Chau Kok libraries, and these are the star libraries because they adopt a special design that blend in with the surrounding community. So I think you can give it a thought here as well. The other point is this: we need to consider future development. Say in the Chinese university, the library is equipped with a virtual reality section. It's also popular in other places. The other point is about audiobooks. Audiobooks are designed originally for those visually impaired, but young readers are nowadays fond of audiobooks as well. So since you have a parent-child reading zone here, can you also provide audiobooks? The third point is about construction cost. You gave an explanation just now about the return tender price, but plowing through the paper, I still don't see anything about the cost relating to the superstructure of the site. So I can't figure out the cost apportionment. So do give us more details after the meeting about cost apportionment, because usually we start with the tendering of major items before the smaller ones. I see the reverse here. I respect the government's decision. And anyway, my next question is this about the on cost to payable to HA is 12.5%. Based on the construction cost of 83.6 million for the bare shell construction, and you just now answered cost apportionment on a number of things: site works, building services, foundation. So, using this 12.5%, can you tell us whether there will be any additional costs? As I mentioned last time, Chairman, I question the 12.5%. I don't think it's a reasonable proportion. Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Member, for your suggestions. We will definitely consider the provision of VR facility and audiobooks in the library. But as I explained, it will be some time until the library is completed, and we would like to offer what's available by then to members of the public in terms of the latest technology. So in the coming few years, we'll be engaging the local community so that we can we can ride on the successful examples such as the Ping Shan, Yuen Chau libraries and create the special library here. As for the on-cost payable to the HA, yes, it stands at 12.5%. But for foundation, site works, building services, the actual amount of on-cost may be lower than the ones stated here. What about this ratio of 12.5%? Is it subject to review? I think the Housing Department and the Development Bureau should consider reviewing this proportion. This is outside the scope of this particular project. Right, perhaps the administration can follow up on this matter with the relevant departments. Yes, indeed. Mr. Lam Chun Sing. Reprovisioning of Pak Fu Lam Public Library. Right, this is an old library. I remember back then, if the Sha Tin Library became very crowded, we would go to the smaller library in Lek Yuen instead. It's quite nostalgic. According to the justification in paragraph 6, there are 1 district library, 3 small libraries, and 5 mobile library service points in Southern District. And since Wafu Estate will be redeveloped, you need to maintain 3 small libraries. About this library structure, 1 district library plus 3 small libraries and 5 mobile ones. Will it be subject to review? Because departments regularly review and consolidate the services. For example, for the Labor Department, they have employment centers in all 18 districts, but in light of the online job hunting trend in recent years, they will consolidate resources and provide a center for 2 to 3 districts. Of course, we can't compare the services for each and every government department, but let's say if you only provide a mobile library service points for densely populated estates such as Ablay Chow Estate or South Horizons, then is it possible to replace the small library with, say, 2 or 3 mobile libraries for Pok Fu Lam and Wafu Estates? Is it possible to change the structure? The next question is this. Some $50 million have been reserved for internal fitting out works undertaken by the RHSD, and also $12 million for the procurement of equipment. The Undersecretary already explained that the library will be completed 5 or 6 years down the road, and by then there may be new text available. But then the procurement of multimedia content may be more expensive. What happens if there is a cost overrun?
Undersecretary, I would like to defer the first question to LCSD regarding the review of the combination of libraries. Second, about the construction cost. We are now seeking approval of a budget. Once this is approved, we will have to strictly follow the ceiling of this budget. Unless under very special circumstances, then we will come back and seek for more appropriation. As for the use of IT, we do see advancement, but it is not necessarily that the cost will go up. Well, after the rolling out of new technologies, actually cost efficiencies can be enhanced. Let's say the chips, although the computing power is ever increasing, but the cost is also dropping. So let's wait and see. Anyhow, our target is to offer the best and the most appropriate services to the citizens within the budget. Mr. Lee? We have 1 district library in Hong Kong. We want to provide 1 library for every 20,000 population. This is the standards offered by the Outlining Zone Plan Hong Kong. We do have quite some population in the Southern District. If they need to go all the way to the Aberdeen Library, it will be quite far today. So if there are areas that are rather densely populated, we will add 1 small library there, and that's why we have built the Pok Fu Lam Public Library in the first place. After the redevelopment, we expect that there will still be 110,000 population in the area. We believe that we need to put the small libraries in place. Without that, they need to travel for about 30 minutes to go to Aberdeen Public Library. It is rather far away. If we have a population of 110,000 there, I think it is worthwhile to include the small libraries there. But of course, there will be a constant review, especially the mobile library service points. We are also looking into this matter with the DC. Sometimes there needs to be replacement or addition of mobile library service points. We'll be constantly reviewing the usage and adjust accordingly. members, there are still 4 who are intended to speak and 2 who would like to speak for the second round. Even if I extend this meeting for 15 minutes, well, if you don't follow the time control, it is impossible for us to finish this agenda item. So it really depends on all of you. If you can be precise, then it is possible for us to complete this agenda item. Next, Mr. Benson, look. Thank you, Chairman. Today we are discussing about the reprovisioning of the library because it has to move alongside with the redevelopment program of Wafu Estate. I believe that it needs to be here in principle. As mentioned at the panel previously, I agree that it needs to be here, but it is rather expensive. Well, previously you estimated at 190 million, but now it is estimated at a cost of 174 million. It is about 10% decrease, and we welcome such deduction in cost. I think it is because of the differences in the estimate cost and the returned tender. The differences is not caused from the revision of your design. My first question is, in terms of your design, are there still rooms for you to adjust? We see that it costs you about 50 million just for fitting out. Although you have explained it with the methodologies and different elements, I just want to see if there are any room for revision. As we can see in other infrastructure works, actually there are still items that we can drop if they are not presently urgent. Second, colleagues have also mentioned that this library is not going to open until 5 to 6 years later. I discovered that if we compare it with the existing library, the size of the new one has doubled. But when I look at the internal elements and the design, it seems rather conventional or traditional. Well, if you look at the external, it seems to be futuristic, but not internally. I hope that there will be a supplementary document. Are there any new factors in terms of the direction of this library? Going to paragraph 17, talking about the annual recurrent expenditure. At the moment, it's about 6.4 million. It says that there will be an annual additional recurrent expenditure of 2.9 million. Therefore, in the future, it will be about 9.3 million every year because there will be an additional recurrent of 2.9 million, which covers the electricity tariff, cleaning charges, etc. Will there be additional headcount, or are you going to outsource it? Well, because the 2.9 million is to cover electricity tariff and cleaning charges. It seems rather expensive to me. Undersecretary. Thank you, Chairman. Speaking of the reduction of construction cost, as you have rightfully pointed out, it will be completed only after a couple of years. We need to consider how can we better arrange the space and to include INT elements. Some members worried if the budget here is sufficient to cover the future cost of INT development. I believe we have to strike a balance. What we're doing here is an estimate cost, and we estimate according to previous experience. Once it's been approved by LegCo, we will offer our best possible service within the amount that we are given. You're asking if it can be further reduced. Well, if it is being further reduced, then it might be cutting off some of our flexibility in the future. For example, the contingency fees, it has not been included in the estimates here, but we may or may not use it. If it is not being used, we will be leaving it to the foundational works. We are spending our money according to the existing mechanism. As for the recurrent expenditure, I would like to defer it to LCSD. Mr. Lee. The 2.9 million is not to cover additional manpower. Well, because electricity tariff is not involving any headcount. But of course, we need to hire more staff from the cleaning company because the area has been expanded. The major expenditure is the maintenance cost of facilities. It is the operational cost that we are going to give to ASD and CDD. Can you give us additional information? I think the members are interested because you are asking for 2+ million. Yeah. Specifically, what are the facilities and equipments? Because we wanted to serve the purpose. Please give us some supplementary documents. Since we are still waiting for a lot of supplementary documents, I don't think I would put this item to vote. It allows members to wait for supplementary document from the administration. Today's meeting will be adjourned after the questions of Mr. Kwok Wai-keung. If necessary, I will slightly extend the meeting today so that Mr. Kwok Wai-keung can complete his questions. Well, I have considered all the factors, including the supplementary documents required. So we will continue this item in our next meeting. Mr. Kwok Wai-keung. Thank you, Chairman. I have a number of questions. Well, the existing library is a small one. Since the population of Waffle Estate will be multiplied, therefore, the area of the small library is also doubled. I think it is reasonable. Sadly, though, when we look at this document, we can only see the design of the shell. You tell us that there will be a study room, there will be a reading section for newspaper and periodicals. There will also be adult library, children's library, activity rooms, but there is no design here. I agree with my colleagues. Public library is supposed to be quiet. If we can incorporate some features of the history of Waffle Estate here, it will be appropriate. You can use it as part of a design, etc., because it will give citizens an immersive experience without too much nuisance. This library will be completed in a number of years. We hope that there will be more smart library functions. For example, well, certain government department is actually making use or having test trials of robots, including the legislative complex. Since this library is going to be completed in 5 to 6 years' time, have you prepared to use similar facilities as well? Last question. There will be some large glass facade. Since it is located on a slope, it is not nearby the ground. It is built upon a foundation. Therefore, on the roadside, you will not be able to clean the glass facade. Since there is a podium, so when you need to clean this glass facade, how can you ensure that it is in line with the occupational safety regulations right now? And the Secretary. Thank you for your question, Mr. Kwok. As mentioned by HD, the library and its surrounding facilities will be incorporated with special features of the Waffle Estate, so that it will not just serve as a library but also a cultural tourist spot. As for the use of robots and other technology, well, as mentioned, since technological advancement evolves from day to day. So we have to wait until later to see what is the most appropriate technologies to use. For the cleaning service, I have to defer it to ASD. Is it ASD or HD? Yes, Housing Department. Ms. Lau, thank you for your question. Regarding the cleaning of the glass facade, normally there are two major ways, but we will wait until the detailed design is completed. We want to make sure that it is economical and also convenient to the workers. First, on the rooftop of the library, we can allow for some facilities that can put some gondola, but it is rather complicated because it is only one off. Normally speaking, on the podium we will allow for we will include it in our detailed plan.
Well, as mentioned just now, we'll now stop this discussion of item and we'll resume next time. The next meeting will be held at 8:30 on the 4th of June. It will run from 8:30 to 10:30. Members are invited to attend the next meeting. For the funding proposal approved, the item will be submitted to the FC for consideration in a June meeting or thereafter. If there is nothing under AOB, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.